So recently, a bunch of unaired pilots found their way online, dating back to the 90s. What I want to do is look at these pilots and determine two things. 1, did it have potential? And 2, how different would popular culture be if this pilot was picked up for series? Today we're opening up the pilot vault and looking at the pilot for a show called The Unbelievables, a show about a blue-collar crime-fighting group of superheroes. But instead of the Avengers, we've got The Unbelievables. Ryan Gosling, who was around 18 when he filmed this, plays Josh, the teenage son of Action Armstrong, who was a pivotal member of this unbelievable superhero team. And it's written and directed by Ed Solomon, who was the screenwriter for stuff like Bill and Ted and Men in Black. So he knows his way around making funny movies, so that's a good sign, isn't it? What I find interesting about this pilot, right, is that it parodied the superhero genre a few years before The Incredibles did. See, back when this was made, the year 1999, how old was I? 4? I was 4. Superhero movies were a lot more light-hearted. Like, if you saw a costume, then you knew it was going to be a bit of a goofy film. It was when they took away the costume that you knew things were going to be serious, like Blade. This was intended to be fun, and I think it does a really good job at that. Much in the same way as The Incredibles genuinely made Fox panic when they were making those Fantastic Four movies. I'm sure this show would have had a similar effect had it not been left to gather dust in the pilot vault. So let's give this a watch, shall we? We start with a comic book panel before transitioning into the real world, and we get a flirty basketball game. Oh God, you know what this has given me big vibes of? The Halle Berry Catwoman movie, one of the worst films ever made. I've got it on DVD. That had a similar flirty basketball game scene and it was terrible. We learn that both Gosling and this lady have superpowers. She has like Fantastic Four powers and he seems to be able to fly. Then we learn about the Unbelievables and how they've retired via a series of comic books. Corbin Bernison is in this, playing Ryan Gosling's father. He's great. He's going through his attic with Gosling, looking through his old stuff. He can't let any of his old superhero stuff go because he's too attached to it all. These things include stuff like a money purse, because superheroes don't have pockets. God, why does that feel like one of Tim Allen's superhero jokes? Me and my mates made a video years back, reacting to Tim Allen and his comedy. This is a joke that would fit right in with his routine. We see a used car salesman, desperate to get some customers to buy a car, but they're not interested. He sees on the news that his superhero is selling a tell-all book about his days as one of the Unbelievables. This used car salesman was also a member of the Unbelievables, and this is setting up something that comes later. Ryan Gosling goes to visit his mum and his stepdad, who just so happens to be the mayor. I'm not sure why they forced in some dialogue about him being the mayor. I presume it was to set up future storylines that we never got to see. Anyway, he makes a bunch of jokes about sleeping with Ryan Gosling's mum. Gosling is just a bit awkward and quiet in this scene, as you would be, I suppose. We get some boring family drama, while a stepdad levitates in the background because of one of the superhero gadgets. Ryan Gosling talks to the character who's meant to be his mum, and am I the only one who's sensing a certain tension between them?
Sure you're okay?
Yeah, fine.
Not sure how to turn this thing on.
I'm going to choose not to read too much into it, but it definitely feels like there's some chemistry between these two actors. Then we cut to a comic book store where we meet Tim Curry and Steve Carell. Tim Curry is made for a pilot like this. He's so wonderfully theatrical. Curry and Carell play a retired supervillain and his trusty henchman, and Steve Carell does this really weird accent, making it feel like a Michael Scott comedy character, and Tim Curry is just brilliant. I love him in everything, he can't do any wrong. They worked together on another TV show a few years prior to this called Over the Top. I think it only lasted for about 8 episodes. We talked about it in the video about Steve Carell's unaired pilot. They must have enjoyed working together if they they joined forces for this as well. God, why did they never get Tim Curry to appear on an episode of The Office? He would have been wonderful in there. When did Tim Curry have his stroke? It was 2012, right? That was around the same time that Steve Carell left The Office. Maybe that's the reason why he never appeared as one of the managers, because I could definitely see him applying for Steve Carell's job, you know, alongside Jim Carrey and Everybody Loves Raymond guy and stuff. Why'd they call him Everybody Loves Raymond guy? His name is Ray Romano. His name was right there. How did I get that wrong?
This is why I don't go out of the house. I thought everybody loved you.
But yeah, maybe if he didn't have a stroke, he would have appeared on The Office, because I could definitely see him helping out Steve Carell in, like, easing that transition. Because that was the point of that episode, wasn't it? After Michael left, we needed a bunch of guest stars to, like, get excited about the show again, and yeah. I think Tim Curry would have been great being interviewed for the job. But yeah, in this, they both ham it up so much, it's almost like watching a pantomime. It's brilliant. We then get a scene of all the old members of the Unbelievables, all chilling and playing poker. It's here where we learn that the woman from the beginning with Mr. Fantastic powers is the daughter of this guy with the same powers. She sits on his knee and is a little too close. Whoever directed this pilot really doesn't understand how to accurately portray family relationship. Between the chemistry between Ryan Gosling and his mum and this, it's like an alien directed this, knowing nothing about human relations. Also, how is this woman his daughter? Don't they look a little different? You know what I mean? Is the cast enough on this one or what? She can't be adopted because she's got his same superhero powers. We get some more pantomime stuff with Curry and Carell. It's a shame that we really don't go anywhere with this because they're delightful whenever they're on screen. So it was revealed that Ryan Gosling's mum had an affair with someone on the team, and even though she and the dad are divorced now, he's still annoyed about her. She offers the dad a ride back since his superpower is strength and hers is flight. So it's kinda like Sky High, where the commander was flown around by his wife, but this TV pilot doesn't have the budget for that, so we don't see it happen. Everyone goes to the comic book store, where they find out that Ryan Gosling's mum was given a roofie the night she supposedly slept with the other superhero. Oh my god, drama! And she passed out, meaning that she couldn't have slept with the guy that night. So the guy who actually slept with the superhero who wrote the tell-it-all book was actually the used car salesman guy. So, the whole point of this storyline was to set up a it's funny because gay joke. Really? That's what we wasted our time on. The 90s were a different time, man. Look at how amused everyone is at the idea of this guy being gay. What is this? An old guy comes up to Ryan Gosling's dad and tells him that he saved him from a fire when he was younger. Then everyone is asking for their autographs, excited that the Unbelievables are there. See, I do kinda like this concept, and the Incredibles definitely stepped on similar ground a few years after. You know, with the whole superheroes are all retired thing and all. But these guys are basically celebrities. They don't care at all about their secret identities. That bit confuses me most of all. The lack of secret identities. The first big superhero movie I can think of to completely do away with secret identities was Iron Man. And that was why when we finished watching that first Iron Man movie when it came out, our jaws dropped to the ground when he straight up just said the words, "I'm Iron Man." Because we were so used to secret identities. We just seen Spider-Man fight really hard to keep his a secret. And to see Iron Man throw that away like it was nothing was really interesting. But these superheroes don't seem to care about secret identities at all. They're not bothered if you know who they are. And we end on another scene of Carell and Curry being menacing. They had absolutely nothing to do in this pilot. They don't even have a B-plot. Their job was genuinely just to sit there and act like supervillains without really doing anything. And yet, it was weirdly endearing. It was definitely just their charm winning me over. Had it been anyone else other than these two in these roles, then I would have torn these characters apart and shouted about how much of a waste of time it was. But you know, I'm never going to argue that there's too much Tim Curry in something. He's a legend, I love him. So where does this pilot rank among the other unaired pilots that I've looked at? Well, it certainly had potential, don't get me wrong, and had it been given a full series, series, it definitely would have had an impact on the genre, similar to how The Incredibles did and The Boys did. So I'm thinking this belongs in the good category. I'll put it on the higher end in front of the Gibby spin-off. Sure, this wasn't the best show ever made, but there was some potential there. They just needed a full series to see it realised. Right, are there any other unaired pilots you want me to look at? If so, let me know in the comments and subscribe. Hope us get to 4K. Well, there you go. Bye.